Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome back to TFR for a special installment of Investor Stories. In this segment, the investors tell a story about some of the most odd and unusual situations they've ever encountered as investors. This is the segment called The Strange and Unusual. On today's special segment, we have Sarahzulkosky of Recast Capital. Sarah, what's the strangest, most unusual, or most memorable fund pitch that you've received?
I will say a growing trend that I think is actually quite interesting, right, is when, in addition to a fund kind of pitch deck that we get in advance, right, your marketing materials, part of it's actually a video. You talking about the strategy. Perhaps it's clips of interviews you've done with entrepreneurs that you've supported. Perhaps it's testimonials from entrepreneurs or otherwise. It just makes the story become so much more real as opposed to me going through just another deck. I've seen that a few times now, and it's been incredibly effective and ones that we kind of are always left wanting to hear more. So that's something that I think has been quite interesting more recently.
On today's special segment, we have Hernán Fernandez of Angel Ventures. Hernán, what's the strangest, most unusual, or most memorable startup pitch you've received?
Oh, man. Yeah, I once got a pitch from a Catholic airline. So, Mexico is a very heavily Catholic country. So kind of like, I was like, hey, let's do this startup where, we have like a charter plane. It flies from Mexico City directly to Rome. And you can have like a mass on board and, we'll guarantee like, I don't know, VIP access, but whatever. I mean, I'm a Catholic, probably like a cultural Catholic. So obviously I did not say it to his face, but it was like, yeah.
What a niche. A little capital intensive too.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, you will never forget those stories about like how you become a millionaire by Richard Branson, right? You start off being a billionaire and then you buy an airline. So I always thought about like that Catholic, airline investment. I was like, no,
pretty good.
I hope I don't get punished in the afterlife, but I think I'll pass on this one.
On today's special segment, we have Brian OMalley of Forerunner. Brian, what's the strangest, most unusual, or most memorable startup pitch you've received?
Well, this is another one. We've had some weird ones. I mean, the amount of times, this is back when we used to go to companies, but I would show up and it would be like some dry cleaner and you'd be like, this can't be the place. And then you'd go up the stairs and there would be like 3 or 4 people with like brand new computers. Like, I guess I'm in the right spot. So there's been a few weird ones, but there's clearly a winner in this case. One of my partners and I went up to Seattle to meet with was a pretty interesting company, and in that we flew up to meet them. And I remember the pitch was going really well, and we were pretty excited to dive in and learn more. And at the end, the founder was just kind of pulled us aside and was like, "Hey, this felt like a really good meeting. I just want to let you know that if we dive deeper, there's some things you might find out about." And like when you hear that, you're like, "Well, that's a little weird. Like, where's this going?" And long story short, he kind of pitched it as like that when he was younger, he was a little bit bored and he was really into chemistry. And long story short, he was like the largest meth dealer in the Pacific Northwest and served like 10 years in federal penitentiary for that. And, now was out and was building this company. But maybe I wasn't evolved enough to get to the point where I like really felt comfortable putting other people's money behind, someone who arguably was a very good entrepreneur back in their day. But, it was one of these things where I was expecting that maybe, it was a DUI or, something like that you could see happening, as unfortunate as it may be. But yeah, it turns out he was bored and interested in chemistry. And so we kind of got out of there a little bit more quickly than we might have otherwise. And we didn't ultimately make that investment, but that was definitely a memorable pitch.
Walter White, the one that got away.
Yeah, exactly. This is like Walter White's precursor. This was probably in 2006, 2007. This is a few years ago.
Do you know if it worked out, the business?
I don't think it did.
Good pass.
That didn't show up on my missed opportunities list, but I didn't keep track of it, so I don't know.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, as well as the top 10 VC articles every week, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.